Welcome to Crescendo, a show exploring the voices of women in business. I'm your host, Rachel Lipchansky, small business coach, empowering women with the skills, tools, resources, and support that they need to make more money and achieve work-lifestyle harmony. In season 1 of Crescendo, I am inviting on guests who are in our Israeli small business community to bring light through this difficult time and share with you how you can support these people who have been so deeply impacted by the war. I am delighted to welcome today Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman, and just want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Rebbetzin, if you'll start just by telling people where you are in the country, give us a little bit of context, and share with us how your family's been doing over the past 3 weeks.
Okay, so we live northeast of Jerusalem in a town called Kochav Ya'akov, and it's in the Benjamin region. And we woke up, everything was normal. The kids were excited about going and, shul hopping, going and getting all their candy, and their friends were already here picking them up. And as I said I was going to come join them, I started getting ready. And as they went out, they started hearing boom, 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 and they were really scared. And then a neighbor came out of her house and screamed to them, this is dangerous. Go inside, go inside. And she started telling them, we're in the middle of a war. And so the last thing you want is your kids to find out from some screaming neighbor. They all came rushing in. I had my kids. So let me just give you, a little bit of context. I have 7 kids, and yeah, that's it. So my mostly younger ones, because the teenagers were still sleeping.
What's the age range?
So my oldest is 17, my youngest is 2.5. And the ones who were impacted the most during that first, boom time, which really the high stress time, finding out from the neighbor and just being really confused and not knowing what to do, were the younger ones, like the 10-year-old, the 5-year-old. She was really freaking out. And then the 2.5-year-old was following them. So the 10-year-old felt really responsible. And so she also felt a lot of anxiety about that. And so she had something like 4 friends with her that came to pick her up and, go together. So they all ran here. And so now suddenly I have an army of children running into the house going, oh my God, there's a war. And I didn't know anything. I was like, okay, first thing, let's go to the safe room. So I just have to give you a little bit more context. We don't actually have a safe room. We live in a house that was built before they made it a requirement to have a safe room. So where I live, each 2 streets, imagine this is not normal. Each 2 streets get one safe area, whatever, and it turned into a shul. So it's a synagogue. And you're meant to somehow run across the street all the way from the corner where we live down to the, to the edge and go be safe there, which is fine if you're just on your own, but it does not make any sense for a mother with children. So we designated a safe room in our house to make the kids feel really safe. And thank God we were very smart. We made it the kids' room so that they can also go to sleep very calmly. And we told them that the bathroom was just as safe as the kids' room. So we have this already from the previous times where, we had to be in safe rooms, we've already established this. So I just told them, let's all go to the safe room. We'll be okay. We go, we hang out. And so from the previous war, we remember this song that they have, this NLP woman or man, someone made this up, where it's you are really, really stressed, and then you ran, and here we are, and now we're like safe, so we could take a deep breath, and then you take a deep breath with the kids, and you shake it off. So I did that with them, and some of the kids were like looking at me funny, but they did it anyway, and everybody was sort of calm again. And then I said, okay, everybody stay here. I have to go look at the phone. And they were like, but it's Shabbos. And they know we don't do that. I'm like, okay, don't worry. I went and I just touched my phone to like make it pop up. I wanted to see if there was any messages that were recent, and there were. So I opened it up and it said, we are officially in war. Please stay, close to home, nearby, whatever. If there are people with guns, please take out your guns, get ready, whatever. So I was like, okay, this is serious. The kids weren't kidding. And I believe the first week was the hardest, I think, for everyone. Just the shock, the disbelief, and also the disappointment from not going back to school, right? A little bit of context. We just had 16 days off from school. I was like ready to cry when I realized that this means no school. And it took me a while to get over myself. I'm like, people are dying. Everything is going like haywire. Why are you so upset that your kids are home safe? And I was like, I just couldn't get over the fact that I was so disappointed. And I had to do a lot of like inner work. Like, it's okay. Let yourself be human, right?
I think
But
that's
that
the
was
thing, is that each of us has our unique experience in this, and a very personal experience, and we can only speak to that, right? And it's not to diminish the hardship for anybody else or even try to equate it, but it's still very real for us parents after 16 days of having our children at home during the holidays to want them to go back to school. And when that didn't happen, those of us, I think, who weren't dealing with an acute physical threat or safety issue, I think we're able to have that thought pattern, that thought wave of like, oh, phooey for us that now our kids are home, right? Of course. And I love how you talk about doing the deep work of like the inner work of like shifting, but also like giving ourselves grace, I think, for the unmet expectation that we all had to like have this really beautiful, joyous day, and then the next day send them back to school and what is, normal routine for our families.
right. I think also the PTSD from August was still with us, so there's like this continuous sort of like weight of, I just want to go back to real life. I want to go back to my business. I have a gigantic to-do list. I have so many things I'm excited to do. And like, I'm ready to give, sort of like step over the whole mommy thing and just like lean into who I really want to be and who I want to, show up as. And I think that was grief that maybe not just me had to go through, but was normal and is okay to say it loud. It's like very uncomfortable and I'm being very vulnerable, but I think it was just, being human and being okay with all the parts of yourself.
Absolutely. So I want to actually shift and ask you, like, that other side of you, the businesswoman, the marriage coach. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like what your business looked like before October 7th. And even before the holidays, because I know so many of us also take off time around the holidays. So what did your business look like?
So I'm a marriage coach specifically for women in business because I love that intersection between marriage and business and how they affect each other, mostly because of what I had to go through and how I had to figure it out myself and, sort of grow into leaning into that business and be okay with becoming who I am and things like that. So, before the war, I was doing a lot of masterminds. I was doing group coaching and, sort of like sessions and trainings around how to find that balance between being a wife, being a mother, having a business, finding yourself in all of this and really leaning into that. And I actually have like the 4 pillars, which is God, because that's the core of everything, right? We're doing this for him. But then there's the marriage and the business that have to work together. And then you are the container that hold it all. So I was talking a lot about that, for the last like 3 years, mostly in group containers. And then like right before the war, like, before this even happened, I had this intuition that I should offer one-on-ones because, for some people, the group isn't really comfortable or is not the right place or whatever it is. And they just need like a short 3-month container to create results without any of the other people. And I launched that thinking, this is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense in your head. Like logically, it does not make sense. It's the same price as my group. It's one-on-one. It's all these things. Like I'm giving away everything. Like you get all of my curriculum. You get WhatsApp support. You get me one-on-one. Like it's ideal, right? And I was sitting there thinking, why am I doing this? And I don't know why, but it felt really right. And so I launched 6 spots for one-on-ones. And I think it was really divine because then I saw that there was a need for that. As soon as the war hit, it started filling because people really needed that one-on-one support and they needed to be able to get it all out of their system, whatever they were working through, right? So, and one of the ladies I work with from America, she told me, I feel bad like showing up to a session with you and you're under war and here I am just sitting in my house, and like, maybe you want to reschedule. And I was like, actually, no, this is what keeps me going. I think the first week was the hardest for me because I prioritized my kids and said like, okay, we're just going to like get through this and whatever. Also with all the anxiety and the stress and not going anywhere. I was very homebody like during that week, and I'm not usually home all day, right? So like I stayed very, very close. I kept all my kids very close. So I was very, safe. And that wasn't really good for me because it's not my nature. So when I was able to disconnect and go into business mode and like, I am here for you, tell me what you're working on, tell me what we're dealing with today, and being able to see her transformation was a gift for me because it helped me disconnect from all of the noise in my brain and just be there for her. And I think that is one of the coolest things that people can do is, hire us, make us feel busy, because then we're actually doing what we're meant to do. And we're not sitting around like circling around all the stress and the anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. So did your group sort of go away? Had you not launched a group recently? Are people looking for group? You still have your group. Okay.
And the doors closed to it in July. So that was going on. Like I was serving them and I was still really present for them. Even the week of the war, I showed up for them. Like I was really happy that we had the ability to process together. Mm-hmm. And the session was really powerful because we were all processing different things. Some people were in America, some people were in Israel. I'm still there for them, and they're still my group. And I think they know the value they're getting. Like, so nothing changed for them. But seeing the newbies coming in for the one-on-ones, being that that's the only offer right now that I have, is really empowering for me, just to see the results, see the transformation, see that it's working, is really nice.
Yeah. And I love that you talked about that intuition or the divine messages that you got to launch this one-on-one program that you have. And I think so often, like, we as women question when we have that intuitive voice. The show is all about using our voice and how we find our voices and how we become comfortable really utilizing our authentic voices. And so I think it's a really beautiful example of a time when somebody has really utilized their voice for good in their business and in turn good in the world, right? Because now you're supporting these 6 women who really needed you during this difficult time. Has the war impacted your business in any other ways?
Well, it gave me a lot of content to work with because I am a marriage coach, and my whole thing is about how do things affect marriage, and how does your marriage affect other things, right? So from the second it hit, my podcast was about war, how to process the war, how to process the emotions, and then how the war is affecting your marriage, and how's your husband affected by this war. Because, for a lot of Anglos living in Israel, their husbands are not in the army, right? Because they came later, or they already had children, or they were already married, whatever it is. They are feeling very lost. A lot of these men are sitting around going, okay, all these heroes went out there, and now I'm one of the only men left. There's like all these women and children around, and there's a lot of volunteers and a lot of, great things going on. But then suddenly they lose their own identity of like, what's next? Like, what's there for me? So I found that that's been a real big struggle for a lot of people. And the other thing that's been a struggle for everyone all over the world, and not just in Israel, is the opinions that are coming out, right? Like suddenly men are coming out with very strong opinions about things that are happening in the world. And you're thinking, oh my God, I did not know my
And
husband was.
women and
And
people who
women.
don't identify with any of the genders. Yeah. Yeah. The voices just feel like they're coming from everywhere. Yeah.
Right. And then suddenly there's opinions in your own house that you don't agree with, and you're fighting, and you're like, what's going on? Why are you saying that? Right. And so it's almost like the start of a fight, because something is really shifted. I don't remember you being this way, or I don't know that this is how you react in, times of stress. So those really strong opinions come out in a very strong way, and they can cause a lot of damage if you don't know how to deal with them. And that's something really important to address right away, because if you let that snowball, it's not going to be pretty, right? So that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So it's
that.
interesting. So the content that it's providing for you, obviously, to be able to share out and new ways to be able to connect with people and support them through your content. But also it sounds like the conversations, even within the coaching, have really shifted as well.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. How long have
Thank
you
you.
lived in Israel?
I live in Israel 16 years.
Okay.
I had to do 17 minus 1, but I don't know why it took me so long to find how old my daughter is. Yeah. We came when she was a year old. So yeah.
Beautiful. What
Yeah.
kind of support do you? Oh, mm-hmm.
You're saying all the conversations have intensified, and like it doesn't matter if we're talking about intimacy, if we're talking about emotional connection, if we're talking about skills, if we're talking about the atmosphere in the home, everything has intensified, right? And so the amount of just presence and intention has changed also.
Yeah, I find in my house, like I'm so I used to be tired. Like I would describe myself as tired all the time. I'm exhausted. Like I'm completely drained, right? Because of that constant intensity. And it's not just from my family or my relationships here within the home. It's like everything. So when you talk about that, that really resonates for me. And I'm sure with a lot of people who will listen to this. Tell me, Rebbetzin, what do you need right now? How could people support you? What would be most helpful?
So for me, I think the thing that would be the most awesome is having more listeners, just growing my list, and being able to get more visible. And I have a freebie called The Guide to Unravel Overwhelm. And I think right now that's pretty helpful.
I'd say
So you
so.
can, Yeah, so everybody can download that, connectedforreal.com/guide, and I'm sure you'll have that in the show notes. And
Absolutely.
I have a podcast called Connected for Real podcast, which, Connected for Real is my business. It's all about being connected in a really deep level, a really deep way, but also being super practical and being for real. So it's all about
Beautiful.
that.
I will absolutely add those in the show notes. So if you'd like to connect with Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman and find out more about the services she offers, her podcasts, or any of the other work she's up to, you'll be able to find that information in the show notes. Also, if you are abroad and want to help the Rebbetzin, myself, any other small businesses here, there's a growing directory of small businesses at smallbusinessisrael.com. And there are hundreds of both product and service-based businesses represented there who would all very much welcome your support. Rebbetzin, thank you so much again for being here, for sharing just a little piece of your story and your bright light that you're always bringing to the world, and really the calm presence that you're helping many, many women achieve in their homes and in their marriages.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this.